Our infused composite construction is very different. There's no one else in the industry that's doing exactly what we're doing.
Cutting edge, the technology that we are using that I don't think most people have ever seen before.
Every single part of the fiberglass boat is built this way. There's not a chopper gun in this building. I think that changes everything.
Hi, Randy Hopper here today to visit with you a bit about the exciting construction process that we use here at Vexus Boat for all of our fiberglass hulls, decks, and all the parts thereof. There's been an ongoing discussion for many, many decades actually, from the beginning of the invention of the fiberglass open molding process about which method is the best. One of the drawbacks of the old system is that no matter how good you were at open mold and laminating, there was limitations on what you could do as far as the fiberglass to resin ratios. The more resin you put into a composite once that fiber is saturated, it just makes it more brittle. So it adds nothing but weight. We've really put all that to the side now. We started at the very beginning to develop a process that we call infused composite construction. And it's a lot different than the open molding process. Yes, it uses fiberglass materials and resins. What we needed to do was a method whereby we could infuse, or through suction, put the resin into that fiber only the amount that is required to saturate it. And that's exactly what infused composite construction does. Under a vacuum, we take the various materials that we desire to use for the given hull or deck, and they all have different engineered requirements, but we can specifically engineer these pieces or parts of a hull, for example, to do what we want it to do. We use a lot of exotic fibers, such as this quadraxle, which means that the fibers are going to be oriented in 4 directions, 0, 90, 45, 45. We have 0, 90s, and these materials are all stitched materials, meaning that they are not woven. When we have a woven roving, which is a very typical way of building a hull, the woven fibers are woven underneath, and it leaves little pockets for the resin to accumulate, which is another reason that you can't make them as dry and have as favorable a resin to glass ratio as you can with the infusion process. So there's a lot of different fibers, and they don't all fit in the same place, and that's the beauty of this process, is because we can lay into the mold exactly what we want and what the performance characteristics need to be. We have an in-house CNC machine that we have programmed these, and we cut these kits so that when it's delivered to the line, that kit for that prescribed part is exactly the same as the previous one. Another thing about the infusion process is that you can maintain a very consistent thickness throughout the product. You can see multiple layers, and this is just a sample of no particular part of the boat. And what's happening is we're putting that in under a bag and applying a full vacuum. So we've got roughly 14 pounds per square inch. So it's unbelievable how tight that laminate is. That's also the reason that we can maintain that glass to resin ratio that we are desiring to get and can accomplish time after time after time.
The processes are inherently different from infused composite construction to hard case paint in an effort to bring a different type of product to market. And consumers are just beginning to really experience that, but over time, that's where it'll really pay dividends, this extra work that we're doing and employing into the product itself.
We can build a part lighter and stronger than a conventional way of building a fiberglass part, be it a boat, what have you.
Consistency is a huge advantage in the infusion process.
Another real cool thing that we do is we use core material. That simply means that we're building a sandwich construction with glass on either side of a prescribed core, and those do vary too from densities to the material that we use depending on the location. For example, this particular material is used under the fuel tank to add stiffness and deadening to the hull. We use a very similar material on the casting platforms, upper fishing decks. The cockpit sole of the deck is a very similar material. Again, gives you that sandwich construction that's very, very strong and has a great stiffness to weight ratio.
We are not open molding any fiberglass parts in this plant. And there's so many advantages to that. One is cleanliness.
Used to it was a chop gun and it was a mess, and now it's a really, really clean process.
Another real advantage to the infused composite construction is it's in a closed bag or a closed environment. So that means that it's very friendly on the environment because we don't have the fumes or the emissions that you have with the typical system of open molding. We're building a better product with lower emissions than we've ever done before, or that can ever be done the old school method of open molding. So our closed molding, infused composite construction is certainly the future of boat building, and it's here today throughout the Vexus plant in every fiberglass part that we mold.
You don't see people walking around in hazmat suits and got everything taped up because they're afraid to get the chemicals in the raw glass. This changes everything.
I want to thank you for taking a few minutes to let me explain to you some of the benefits of infused composite construction. It's tomorrow's way of building boats today here at Vexus.